Okay, today's episode's all about home improvement, but I need to start by cleaning everything up first.
You keep on running around with other women in town. I've had enough of these games. I will be kicking you out.
Okay, so part of living in New York City is that you often have to make do with much smaller spaces. And so often that can require some modifications or some custom implementations of solutions to existing problems. For example, when I moved into the apartment, there was only one towel hook in the bathroom. And while it worked great, because it was so far away from the actual shower, every time I would get out of the shower, I would have to get the entire floor wet to go walk and grab it. And so my solution to this problem was to 3D print the exact same towel rack and put another guy right here. That way, when I get out of the shower, instead of having to walk across and get everything wet, all I have to do is just reach out with one arm and grab the towel right there. And there are a ton of other small upgrades like this that I would love to make. For example, I'd like to clean up these cords. I'd like to organize my game box. I would absolutely love to clean up the cables in this cabinet. And I'd love to come up with some better storage for this side project that never got built. But the goal for today is to focus on two projects that I know I can get done this weekend. Both are going to require going to the wood shop, which I'm going to do tomorrow, but today I'm going to set up exactly what I'm going to build. The first one I'm going to do is that I'm going to find a better home for my 8 sleep. The generous folks over at Row were nice enough to get me an 8 sleep last December, but part of having one requires this like big sort of cooling unit on the side of your bed. And now if I had more room between my bed and the door, that's something that would be totally fine. I could just go next to my nightstand like they advertise online, but I don't. And so for the last 2 months, I've been walking into it, tripping over it, hitting my toe on it, and it's been quite the annoying process. So what I'm going to be doing is mounting it into the corner of my room. The second item that I'm going to be building tomorrow at the wood shop is an overhead camera mount. A bunch of amazing YouTubers have these overhead rigs that allow them to create really beautiful shots and stories by having both their hands in the video, and then they can use sort of props to tell that story. And so tomorrow at the wood shop, I'm going to be designing and building a overhead camera mount that will function with my existing setup at home and my home desk. It will be mounted up there. Somehow I need to figure out how I'm going to attach it to that shelf that I built, and it's going to be overhead my little desk area right here. Okay, so like I mentioned, basically what I'm going to be doing is moving the 8 sleep from the bottom in the middle of the hallway areas right now and mount it up in this corner right here. So it's going to be this like big box up in the corner, which is fine, but basically what that means then is I need to have a nice little piece of wood that it'll sit on. It needs to be mounted, it needs to be specific dimensions so that the sort of cables can hang off the back, which will be great. And then essentially I'll go to the wood shop tomorrow, I'll cut out that piece, I'll order some hardware online right now, and then hopefully we'll be able to mount it in tomorrow's video or at least sometime early next week. So that's problem one. That one's a little bit easier. The visuals are obviously very simple, but I'm gonna get some proper measurements, write that down so I have it for tomorrow, and then we'll move on to part 2, which is the overhead rig, which will be a little bit more complicated. There are 2 design criteria that I want to build the overhead camera rig around. The first is that I want it to be able to hang on my wall in a way that looks kind of nice, so it can't look terrible, it can't be too bulky, it needs to have a somewhat flat profile. And the second is that I need to be able to set it up and take it down without having to take all the bookshelves off of my shelving unit. So I know it's going to interact somehow with my shelf, I'll have to figure out what that looks like right now, but I don't want to have to like take off my books, screw something in, unscrew something. I want it to be very plug and play solution. So those are the 2 design criteria I'm going off of, and that's what I'm going to come up with now.
You keep on running around with other women in town. I've had enough of these games.
Okay, I'm a terrible artist, but I am starting to get some drawings of what I think will be a similar shape to what I want to do. I'm taking heavy inspiration from one of my new favorite YouTubers, who is a small guy who actually just released a video on how he made his own custom overhead camera rig. Let me get back to it and we'll check you back in once it's actually something.
Okay, I'm gonna end the vlog here, but I have my measurements, I have my designs, and I have my other measurements for the little shelf. But got designs, heading to the wood shop tomorrow, to be continued.